This time, part 2 of the manual transmission swap for my S10 Blazer. Finally.
Alrighty.
So it's been over a year and a half since part 1 of this video, and to pick up from where we left off there, I broke down in the Blazer. The engine is not seized. I ended up putting an all-new aluminum radiator in here, and everything is fine as far as that is concerned. But another reason that this swap has taken so long was figuring out the transmission itself. I've been looking at transmissions on carpart.com, looking at junkyard inventory, trying to figure out which one to get for this. And one of the nice things about it taking so long is I've learned something else in the process. I knew there was an early version of the transmission and a later version of the transmission, with the early version having an external slave cylinder and the later version having an internal slave cylinder throwout bearing combo. What I didn't know originally about the later version is that the shifter location was moved towards the rear of the transmission. But one of the other things I learned is that there was a mid-year option. So for 96 and 97, they had the forward shifter location, but they had the internal slave cylinder. So that's the transmission I decided to go with. I ended up finding one in Pennsylvania, and then on the way home from a family trip, I stopped by and picked it up, as you saw at the very beginning of this video. So here it is, my junkyard fresh NV3500. This one came out of a 1996 S10 Blazer. And of course, being the 96, this one has the throwout bearing slave cylinder combo unit, and then the shifter in the forward position. So before I get started with anything else, I'm just going to knock the junkyard dirt off of this and clean this up real quick. Alright, so the next thing I want to do here is remove the old slave cylinder. So there's just a couple of bolts, one on the top and one on the bottom. So just going to pull those out, and then this whole thing should slide out of there. The little bit of the end of the old line is on there, and it's sharp. I've already cut myself on that once. So I want to get that out of the way first. And that'll come out. I hadn't really thought of it for the transmission here, but now would probably also be a good time to replace the front seal on this. I was just thinking that the rear main seal on the engine is something I need to try to do again, since that is definitely leaking. So I guess I do have a couple more parts to order. So after I got the transmission home here, I went ahead and ordered a few more of the parts that I still needed. Alright, so that's the slave cylinder throwout bearing, alignment tool, pilot bearing, alright, clutch disc, alright, what's this? Alright, so there's the pressure plate. Which means that this is the flywheel. That is heavy. Whoops. Alright, so that's going to be a good, I don't know, 40 pounds? Maybe more. So this should be just about everything else I need. The flywheel, of course, will replace the flex plate that's in there for the automatic transmission. Like I showed, got the pilot bearing that will go into the back of the crankshaft. And then I've got the slave cylinder throwout bearing to go back in the front of the transmission. And one of the other things that I almost forgot about was the hardware. So got pressure plate bolts, and then of course, trying to do things the proper way, I went ahead and got new flywheel bolts as well. So along with the shifter that I got from the junkyard in the previous video, and the pedal assembly here as well, I think the only parts that I still need to get are the master cylinder and then the hydraulic line from the master cylinder to the slave cylinder. But what I'm going to do at this point is go ahead and get started swapping the transmission out. Once I get the pedal assembly installed, I will order the master cylinder, because there's the early style that would have gone with this pedal assembly and my body style, which is probably what I will go with. But there's also a later style master cylinder that would have matched what this transmission is. So there's a slight chance I could go with the later one, but I'm going to wait until I get all of this in there and then order that part. But that should be the last thing that I need. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video here. Sorry for not getting started with actually working on the Blazer just yet, but that will come in part 3 very soon. So check back in the next couple of weeks for that. Make sure you like this video if you did. Leave me a comment down below if you've got something to add. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you next time.